Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Vaisnava Ke. What kind of devotee are you? On this auspicious day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur's appearance day, spiritual master of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langete girim yat kripa tamam bande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Verse number 9, we'll be reading from today. Tay dusht mana nirjana bhajana pracharicha chale kuyogi vaibhav prabhu sanatane param yatane shiksha dila yaha chinta se saba. Tai, therefore, dushtamana, wicked mind, nirjana bhajan, solitary worship, pracharicha, you are preaching, chale by trick, kuyogi vaibhav, a cheating false yogi's influence, prabhu sanatane, Sanatan Goswami, parama, very much, yatane, care, siksha, teachings, dila, gave, yaha, what, chinta, think of, say, saba, all those. Translation, my dear rascal mind, now it is evident why you have been spreading the glories of solitary devotional service. You have been acting against the Vaishnava principles and lamely cheating to hide the real factors. You have acted just like a false yogi whose only purpose is to mislead and cheat others. To save yourself from this illusion, you should remember and carefully study the teachings that Sanatan Goswami has so mercifully given in this regard for practicing devotional service properly in Krishna consciousness. Purport, now the mind misled by material desires for mundane importance and the false prestige has completely gone off the path of pure devotional service. It has followed the paths of the false gurus and given up the Sankirtan movement for solitary worship. Sanatan Goswami recommends Yukta Vairagya, using everything in the service of Krishna, not superficial renunciation. Here the mind is covering all desires for wealth, power and prestige with the thin film of apparent renunciation. Thinking, I'll practice Krishna consciousness by myself, I do not need the devotees, I can have my own movement with my friends. This type of mental concoction is very dangerous. Leaving the association of devotees and associating with worldly people is like drinking poison for one who wants to develop pure love of Godhead. Satyam Socham Dayamonam Buddhi Sharir Harir Yashah Kshama Shamo Damo Bhagash Cheti Yat Sangad Yati Sankashyam Teshva Ashanteshu Mudheshu Khanditatmatsva Asad Dushu Sangam Na Kuriyach Chochushu Yoshit Krida Mrigeshu Cha. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 31, verses 33 and 34. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada warns that a devotee who thinks he is advancing outside the Krishna conscious association of devotees is in reality only hallucinating. Bhakti Yoga is a science of self-realization and it should be practiced according to the approved methods. Then a devotee is assured of success. The Srimad Bhagavatam details the proper way to success transcendental subject matters. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti rit karna rasayanaha kathaha taj joshnad ashva apavarga vartamani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. In the association of the pure devotees, discussion of the pastime and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and after he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 25, verse 25. When a person comes to the temple and begins chanting and serving, he makes progress in Krishna consciousness. But sometimes, due to lack of resolute determination, the mind starts to create options to living within the society of devotees. It suggests you can perform more austerities, read the scriptures more, etc. when you are outside. But once inside the society of devotees, the mind becomes stronger. It does not say, now you have to read, you can read more, but goes on to the next stage. Now no one is watching. You can smoke, you can break the regulative principles, or you can sleep, etc. The mind begins following the dictates of the senses rather than the intelligence. The association of devotees helps a devotee to continue to control his lust, but once he leaves the protective association, the lust becomes difficult to control and desire. It increases beyond limit. Bhagavad Gita explains how lust is the enemy of pure consciousness. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina kamarupena konteya dushpurena chalena cha indriyani manobuddhir asayad dishthanam uchyate eter vimoyati esha jnanam avritya dehinam. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are sitting places of the lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living being and bewilders him. This was from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verses 39 and 40. Intelligence is spiritualized by hearing from the Guru the scriptures. And the Vaishnavas. Whenever mind attempts to materially distort our intelligence with impressions from previous births and activities, we must reject them. No, mind, you are again echoing the story I have heard before. You want me to chew the already chewed. You have seen the sugarcane juice stands on the roadside. They put the sugarcane through the crusher the first time, then fold it in half and feed it to the crusher again. Then it is folded 4 times and then 8 times. Finally, it becomes a ball of pulp. But they crush it again and again to squeeze out the last few drops of sugarcane juice before discarding it. Although there is no juice left, sometimes a madman picks up the stringy ball of dry pulp and tries to suck it. The happiness of the material world is the Okay, I've lost it. I'll just continue. Although there is no juice left, sometimes a madman picks up the stringy ball of dry pulp and tries to suck it. The happiness of the material world is like that. Punah punah charvita charvana nam. Chewing the same thing again and again, as explained the Bhagavad Gita, since the intelligence is higher than the mind and the dull matter, it should be purified and used again. Since the intelligence is higher than the mind and dull matter, it should be purified and used to engage the mind and senses properly in Krishna consciousness. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhyah param manah Manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratas tu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. From Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 42. In modern society, everyone is encouraged to go shopping for sex, as is said that men should enjoy 100 women and women should enjoy 100 relations with men. In reality, no one is satisfied. Rather, they must suffer so many unwanted and often incurable diseases, such as a result of their indulgence. This is the result of chewing and chewing the chewed thing. Alternatively, the Vedas advise us to direct everything towards the spiritual goal and to control the mind, limit the mind, and if it happens to produce a nonsense idea, smash it, beat it, and choose. And where was I? Okay. In reality, no one is satisfied. Rather, they must suffer so many unwanted, incurable diseases. As a result of this indulgence, this is the result of chewing the chewed and chewing the same thing. Alternatively, the Vedas advise us to direct everything towards a spiritual goal and to control the mind, limit the mind, and if it happens to produce nonsense ideas, smash it, beat it with the shoes and brooms. That is the purpose of intelligence. The judge will not accept. My mind told me to shoot the man because he called me a bad name. No, you must use your intelligence to evaluate. A person may be agitated and the mind may say smash him. But although you feel the influence of anger and you can't control it because of the consequences. In spiritual life, we must also regulate the mind. If we completely deprive the mind of all enjoyment, however it may be radically erupt at the time, completely deprive the mind of all enjoyment, however it may be radically erupt at some moment. Sometimes Westerners attempt to Sometimes Westerners attempt to imitate austere yogis who only eat leaves in a remote place of pilgrimage. But after some time, when confronted with an opportunity to enjoy themselves, they immediately drive it and But after some time, when confronted with an opportunity to enjoy themselves, they immediately dive at it. Their senses leap out, showing the real lack of depth. Devotees, on the other hand, will fill their minds and senses with Krishna by chanting, hearing, and feasting on Krishna prasadam. Their lives are a constant festival and celebration of spiritual pleasures, satisfies the senses and and makes peace from them. Satisfies the senses and makes them truly peaceful. Shaubari Muni meditated for 10,000 years under the water, but because he criticized the great devotee Garud, he lost all to the pious results of his austerities. Eventually, upon seeing okay. So Sorry about that. I just seem to have dropped my book. Okay. In spiritual life, we must also regulate the mind. If we completely deprive the mind, yes, we have read this bit. Now we were here. Shaubari Muni meditated for 10,000 years under the water, but because he criticized the great devotee Garud, he lost all the pious results of his austerity. Eventually, upon seeing two fish uniting, he became agitated and felt the urge to marry. He emerged from his meditation spot in search of a partner, but when he came out of the water, he was covered with barnacles and weeds, and his body was wrinkled. By mystic powers, he transformed his ugly body into the form of handsome young man. He then married 51 princesses simultaneously. By his austerities, he had been suppressing his desires, but his offense removed that shelter. That is the danger and difficulty of practicing austerity without devotional service. In Krishna consciousness, we engage the senses. We train the senses to act only for Krishna by keeping them on a tight leash, like someone training an animal. The mind must also become increasingly fixed on Krishna by patience and determination. That is samadhi, thinking only of Krishna. By listening attentively to our chanting, we can start to experience deep appreciation and love for Krishna. Narottam Das Thakur prayed for a shortcut. He said, I am so unfortunate, I am unhappy, it is so difficult for me to control my mind. So Lord Nityananda, please just flood me with the ecstasy, flood me with your mercy, then I will be so attracted by the taste of love flowing from your lotus feet that automatically my mind will be absorbed. This is devotee's shortcut. If we can get the mercy of Lord Nityananda's, then very quickly we taste the ecstasy of pure love for Krishna, and the mind will easily be controlled. This quality of my devotional service, where one is detached from mundane things and attached to the Lord Krishna, is explained in the following verse. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharaham upayunjatah nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate prapani chikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunah mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam phalgu kathyate. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not complete in his renunciation. From Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, second chapter, verses 255 to 236. By relishing appearances from Krishna, we cannot remain the transcending from we can remain transcendental to all mental and sensual disturbances. Once Arjun visited the heavenly planets and a beautiful heavenly society girl approached him for union. But since he was a devotee, he could control himself. He looked down at her feet and addressed her dumbly, saying, right. Oh, once Arjun visited the heavenly planets and beautiful heavenly society girl approached him for union, but since he was devotee, he could control his mind. He looked down at her feet and addressed her humbly, saying, You are like my mother. She desired a lusty relationship, but he wanted to avoid that. So by understanding her to be like his mother, his mind was not disturbed by lusty thoughts. Of course, she was curious, but there was nothing he could do. Therefore, a brahmachari is advised to see every woman as his mother. Okay. You are like my mother, he said. His mind was not disturbed by lusty thoughts. Of course, she was furious, but there was nothing she could do. Therefore, a brahmachari is advised to see every woman as his mother, an attitude which helps to control the mind. Srila Prabhupada once described an Indian sadhu who tried to better the scriptural injunction to see every woman except your wife as a mother. Therefore, brahmachari is advised to see every woman as his mother, an attitude which helps to control the mind. Prabhupada once described in a sadhu who tried to better the scriptural injunction to see every woman except your wife as a mother. He tried to right. Once described the Indian sadhu who tried to better the scriptural injunction to see every woman except your wife as a mother. He tried to see his wife as a mother as well, a concoction drummed up to get some cheap worship from the public, to have them think this something new, something amazing. He must really be called sadhu. Srila Prabhupada has so kindly given us the perfect process for attaining peace of mind. We must take up the immediate task of tackling the mind and controlling it, for by controlling the mind we can be we must take up the immediate task of tackling the mind and controlling it, for by controlling the mind we will be peaceful and happy. So we'll continue from verse 10 next time. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.